Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Tim's News Explosion on this Monday, the 19th of February, 2024. We are live on the Wilmsfront YouTube channel, the Wilmsfront Odyssey channel, and the Wilmsfront Rumble channel. Hello to everyone in the live chat, Dawn Browning, Paleoconservative Australian, and Wolfish Naturalist. Great to see you all there. It is 9 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where we have just had a royal visit from the Queen. Well, that's the impression that was put out by the absolute mainstream media saturation of Taylor Swift's 3 shows at the MCG this weekend. The networks on their 6 p.m. news bulletins had their reporters outside the MCG, even some of their presenters, and they managed to get all of these Swifties carrying on for the cameras, and even Flinders Street Station had Taylor Swift's image projected onto it with "Welcome to Melbourne, Swifties." And the media also talked about the economic boom for Melbourne, 1.2 billion injected into the Victorian economy. Where do they get these figures from? They were running apparently the airlines were running extra flights to get Swifties to Melbourne, with airline flights singing along Taylor Swift's greatest songs. And there was also people coming over from across the ditch in New Zealand, traveling across the Tasman because she's not visiting New Zealand. She's on a private jet's on its way to Sydney, but it could be affected by the storm. So her shows at Accor Stadium Australia this weekend. And of course, given how insanely popular Taylor Swift is, politicians, of course, they try to show how hip they are by getting onto popular culture. And probably the worst politician to demonstrate this was the Victorian Deputy Liberal leader, member for Caulfield, David Southwick. This is what he posted on his social media. And trigger warning, the cringe on this is off the scale.
David, what are you doing?
Oh, well, you know, it's Swifties night. I've got the t-shirt. I couldn't get tickets, so I thought I'd have my own concert here in the office.
But your next appointment's here.
Oh, seriously? Oh, gee. Hang on, I'll be one tick.
A few moments later.
David, the hat.
Oh, crikey. To all the Swifties that are going to the concert, have a ball. If you're from out of town, welcome to Melbourne. And of course, don't forget, shake it off.
Now, to quote Taylor Swift's song "Shake It Off," David Southwick has clearly got nothing in his brain. But I think the Taylor Swift song that more represents the state of the Victorian Liberal Party is "Bad Blood," and certainly Moira Deeming and John Prosciutto have got really big problems, and I don't think that they can solve them. The defamation trial is set for September this year. John Prosciutto, he failed to get the Liberal Party to cover his defamation defense. So all the living ex-Victorian premiers, Jeff Kennett, Dennis Napthine, and Ted Ballew all chipped into John Prosciutto's defamation defense against Moira Deeming. So that is set for September. And of course, we will be here to cover it on the Unshackled. Now, luckily for all the Swifties and the Victorian government, the transmission lines that were fried at Anarchy on Tuesday's call it flash rainstorm. Did anyone so on Tuesday 500,000 homes had and businesses had the power knocked out. There's still around 15,000 which are without power a week on. These were the transmission towers. So they power, keep the lights on. They allow me to broadcast to you. This laptop set up, all the lights here, everything. They turned into a hunk of metal on the ground there. I mean, have you ever seen anything like that? All this power traveling through it, and they just 45 minutes. That's how long the storm lasted. Rainstorm lasted for me, and they're just a hunk of metal on the ground. I mean, how did this happen? I mean, I hope that Chris Bowen's rewiring the nation $20 billion of transmission lines to connect the solar farms and the wind turbines is made a bit more sturdy than that. I mean, could it be the Jews again? The directed energy weapons, DEW, the Jews. Now, we will talk about whether they played a part tomorrow night on The Theorists with Andy Nolch. I wonder if the Jews, obviously I have to be careful with how I pronounce this acronym, whether the Jews were responsible for the thunderstorms in Sydney. 4 people were hospitalized, struck by lightning in the Sydney Botanic Gardens. Paleoconservative Australian says Taylor Swift loves abortion. She also loves Black Lives Matter. She is also championing the LGBT Equality Act. I mean, there isn't a progressive cause that she hasn't backed. I will also give a Taylor Swift update tomorrow night on The Theorists as well. Senator Slayer says Taylor is a fake-ho. How many boyfriends has she had over the years? I think we've all lost count. There are rumors that her current boyfriend, Mr. Pfizer, Travis Kelce, was going to come down to Australia. The snapparazzi, they were all trying to get Taylor Swift's photos of her private jet. I wonder if she snuck into the MCG in a food truck to avoid the snapparazzi. But to many of us, this was a complete sideshow. I mean, I like Taylor Swift's music, but I thought the media coverage was very over the top. It was certainly distracted a lot of people to what could be a new invasion of illegal boats coming to Australia's north. So on Friday, the news broke that there was the 2 groups of illegals from India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh were discovered. They wandered onto a remote Aboriginal community. So there was one in Beagle Bay. The other group was discovered in Pender Bay. And this is the second boat that has just wandered off onshore to a remote Aboriginal community in the past 3 months. The first one was in November last year. And a lot of us are asking what's going on. I mean, there have been boats during the Albanese government's time that have been on a voyage to Australia, but they have been turned back. I can't help but think, because these remote Aboriginal communities governed under a native title, whether the Albanese government has ordered Border Force Operation Sovereign Borders to not patrol these waters because they might upset some Dreamtime Aboriginal thing, because we all know that Anthony Albanese, he and his government are eager to placate every type of Aboriginal grievances and continue the great Australian land giveaway, as Keith Windshuttle calls it, of native title, basically ceding the sovereign island of Australia to all of these Aboriginal land corporations, which are governed like communist countries. I mean, there's that prosecution going on in Western Australia. A guy built a walkway over a river on his own property, and is being charged with upsetting the Aboriginal rainbow serpent. What is it? Is Albanese worried that if he sends Border Patrol on these coasts, that the Environmental Defenders Office, that of course he funds, is going to say Border Force is interrupting the rainbow serpent, and the Aboriginals hearing the whales offshore and something like that. Now, the arrival of this boat on Friday afternoon completely brought an end to, well, one of Anthony Albanese's own distractions for the media and the population, and that was his Valentine's Day proposal to his as some more crudely put it than me, his rent-a-girlfriend Jodie Hayden. So I think they've been going out for about 3 years now. Now, Albanese is the first divorcee that we've had as Prime Minister in the Lodge. His first wife, Carmel Tebbit, back in the 2010s, they were the New South Wales Labor power couple. So Anthony Albanese was the infrastructure minister and the Rudd-Gillard governments and the leader of the House, and Carmel Tebbit, she was the New South Wales deputy premier under Christina Keneally. But according to Anthony Albanese in 2019, Carmel Tebbit decided that she didn't want to be married to him anymore and left him abruptly like that. It all sounded quite strange how, yeah, she just apparently just up and left. They only had the one child together, Nathan, who got the chairman's lounge in Qantas, or the captain's lounge, I should say, and also the internship with PricewaterhouseCoopers, that Big Four accounting firm that's in the firing line for tipping off their customers about proposed tax changes that they were consulting governments on. Dawn Browning says, "I'm so glad that you keep on all the gossip, Tim." Yes, the gossip is designed to distract us. It's part of the info war. I mean, even Peter Dutton was easy on Albanese that day, joking that I'll organise the Bucks nights. I have your best interest at heart, Albo. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Pale Conservative Australian says Albo had nothing to do with him being a PM, Tim. Yes, it was just another romantic Valentine's Day proposal. Now, Labor is just ahead in the latest opinion polls, and there looks like early voting started in the Dunkley by-election for the seat vacated by the departed Peter Murphy. It looks like Labor will hang on. Their candidate, Jodie Balea, who is being sold to the electorate as carrying on Peter Murphy's legacy. The Liberal candidate is the Lord Mayor of Frankston, Nathan Conroy. Though with this boat coming and with the seat of Dunkley, which is centered around Frankston, being a mortgage belt seat where the cost of living is felt intensely, a lot of tradies there. I mean, the last thing that they want is another invasion from our north. There was 50,000 illegals who came to Australia by boat during the Rudd Gillard governments, 1,000 drowned at sea. And the detainees, the criminal detainees who were released by the High Court decision last year regarding indefinite detention, as with case NZYQ, that Rohingya Muslim pedophile who, while he was here, raped a 10-year-old boy. Last week, we found out the breakdown of the 149 that the Albanese government released after that High Court decision. So 7 have been murderers or attempted murderers. 37 are sex offenders, including child sex offenders. 32 are convicted for assault, violent offending, kidnapping, armed robbery. 16 for domestic violence and stalking. 13 for serious drug offences. Well, I'm a libertarian, so drug offences aren't really offences in my view. So fewer than 5 for people smuggling, crimes of serious international concern, and fewer than 5 with low level or no criminality. Now, 24 of them have been rearrested, 6 for breach of the terms of their release, and 18 have been charged by state and territory authorities. There is 36 who are not wearing ankle bracelets, or not required to wear ankle bracelets. And remember, last year there was the legislation that the Albanese government belatedly passed under intense political pressure from the opposition and community concern. The preventative detention regime, modeled on the terror preventative detention regime, that the Minister for Immigration, Adam Giles, can apply to a court to put one of these released detainees back in prison for community safety. Not one application so far has been brought before the court. And now, with these 39 illegals who arrived by boat, you wonder what if they have a criminal history. I mean, the 149 who of these criminals who were released last year, all of these were leftovers from the illegals who came in when Labor was last in government. I mean, they paid $8,000 to the people smuggler to come here. I mean, you sort of wonder if they're the sort of people who couldn't get a visa to come here via plane, because there are plenty who have come to Australia via plane, overstayed their visas, and applied for asylum. So there is hundreds of thousands who are being let in the front door in the name of filling the skills shortage, and a lot coming from India. That's bipartisan, mass migration from India. Peter Dutton, of course, was there, bragging about all the Indians he let in when he was Home Affairs Minister. And I saw that Paleoconservative Australian mentioned 700k legal immigrants every single year. Well, that's over the 2 years actually, but it's still hundreds of thousands per year. And the supposed cuts or windbacks, I mean, they're not going to happen. I mean, those promises are as empty as Rishi Sunak saying that he's going to cut down on immigration. We will get to get to Rishi Sunak's terminal prime ministership later in the show. And yes, the Morrison government, they let in hundreds of thousands per year, but they banned Tommy Robinson, Milo, Gavin McGuinness, you name it. Now, if you thought that the NZYQ decision was bad, there could be a sequel, which is even worse. And now the Attorney General, Mark Dreyfus, he has decided to fast track a federal court decision to the High Court. So this is regarding whether the Commonwealth has to release those who are not cooperating with authorities to assess their asylum application. So this case is called ASF 17. And so this is an Iranian alleged asylum seeker who's refusing to meet with Iranian authorities to get travel documents. So the federal court, Justice Craig Colvin, had made a contradictory ruling. So he said that this Iranian had no obligation to cooperate and that he has good reasons not for doing so. Apparently, he fears for his life if he is removed to Iran because he is bisexual, Christian, phallic because he, as opposed to mistreatment of women by the government in Iran. We don't know whether that's true or it's just a story that he's concocted. Remember, Asad Abdul Azidi claimed he was a Christian so he could get permanent asylum despite being a sex offender. That's the trick in the UK is to say that they've converted to Christianity, you can't deport us, or that we're bisexual or gay, so you can't deport us. But Justice Colvin said that where ongoing detention is to arrange removal from Australia as soon as practical, that lawful purpose is served as long as there is a practical way that the person may be removed, even if it requires cooperation for the detainees to be achieved. You remember that Mark Dreyfus, he was the one, he allowed the Human Rights Commission to lobby on NZYQ's behalf, even though the official line of the Albanese government that these people should continue to be detained, and which is the same reason here. We don't know if that Mark Dreyfus is playing another double game here. So a wolfish naturalist says Abdul Asad is Asad Abdul is still on the run. Well, we don't know if he's on the run or he's at the bottom of the Thames River in London. The Met Police, they just seem to have been able to bury the story with that hypothesis. I came up with my own hypothesis. Maybe he just melted into the pavement because the acid splashed back on him. Who knows? I mean, we have about our hypothesis is as good as the London Met Police. And now Mark Dreyfus, he appeared in a ABC 7:30 segment last week on the proposed anti-doxing laws. And now the Sydney Morning Herald, in an article that was released yesterday, tried to press him on what the provisions of this anti-doxing law would be. And now Anthony Albanese ordered Mark Dreyfus to fast track changes to the Privacy Act to prevent doxing after that list of those 600 Jewish Australians in that WhatsApp chat was leaked. And so Dreyfus, he said that there'd be consultation process to ensure the laws were precise and targeted, but the offence would be drafted to capture any publication for malicious purposes of someone's private or personal information without their consent. And so when pressed on personal information, he said it could be anything, gave the example of publishing a photo of someone's home. He said digital technology makes possible a whole lot of bad content. We're racing to have our legal system catch up with all these things. And so Dreyfus has said that the draft laws will carry a maximum penalty of jail time if the perpetrator has intended to interfere with someone's life and has achieved that purpose, such as the person going into hiding. Well, Tim Lutz of the National Socialist Network had to go into hiding after the Antifa firebombed his car. Clearly, they got his address from somewhere. Then that's something a court would have to take into account in determining penalty. So Dreyfus has committed to exemptions for public interest journalism, but unclear what the scope will be and whether they'll extend to self-published or citizen journalists or media identities are published on social media. So sounds like only the privileged accredited, even though we don't have a media accreditation system, will still be able to dox people. Remember Nick McKenzie back in 2021 doxing the occupations of all the National Socialist Network members that he got Dave Ryan to secretly film to get them fired from their jobs, clearly to interfere with their lives. And so this is what he told 730. It may be that some of the information was publicly available, but it's the combination of that information with private and personal information and accumulating a single set of information published for what appeared to be malicious reasons. Dreyfus declined to comment on how the laws would distinguish between the two situations and whether private conversations would be captured, but no one should be targeted publicly because of who they are or what they believe. Jewish groups have defended their right to organize and engage in letter writing and complaint campaigns. And many have mentioned that 25 years ago on one of the Jewish Australian periodicals, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but they published a list of 10,000 One Nation Party members and the suburb that they lived, redacted the exact street address. And Mark Liebler he's been around for forever, basically, defended this doxing because it was exposing racists. So that's malicious, designed to interfere with people's lives. So, I mean, is this anti-doxing law, going to be applied equally to people of all political persuasions? I mean, we have seen our existing laws applied unequally, and also police investigations applied unequally. I mean, the fact that the Victoria Police, they threw every resource at getting and arresting and convicting Andy Nolt for spray painting that dick around Eurydice Dixon's memorial, but they couldn't get they haven't got the Captain Cook statue vandals, decapitators. They never got the people who vandalized St. Patrick's Cathedral in Melbourne after Cardinal Pell was exonerated. They also never found the Antifa who assaulted Andrew Bolt or who firebombed Tim Lutz's car. Now, keeping on federal politics, you'll remember last week that Barnaby Joyce was filmed in the Canberra suburb of Braddon late at night, slumped on the pavement, speaking to his wife, Vicky Campion, on the phone, clearly intoxicated. They said it was a mixture of alcohol and prescription medication, and he called himself a dumb fucking cunt or something along those lines there. Now his successor as National Party leader, David Littleproud, suggested he take some time off, but now David Littleproud's Deputy Senator Perrin Davey. She she wasn't just caught for a couple of seconds by somebody on video camera drunk. She was captured during Senate estimates last Tuesday night, slurring her words when questioning somebody during Senate estimates. And well, rambling went on for a large amount of time, but this is just a portion of the most obvious indication that she was drunk.
I have seen a dramatic change from when once the arts would come in and it would be this is what we're saying. You come prepared, you know exactly the questions I'm going to ask about the regions, and the regions are now a topic of conversation. And I really appreciate the focus, I appreciate the expanded interest, and I appreciate the change in focus, and I think we're very much now addressing a lot of the concerns I had when I first entered this parliament. So thank you.
You can hear the slurring of the words there, but she's one of those drunks who gets all philosophical and metaphysical, like, oh, you know what to expect when I ask these questions in Senate estimates, and I respect you've got the answers. I'm sure we've all come across drunks like this. Now, Perrin Davey, she admitted that she had 2 glasses of red wine at a national staffer event before appearing at that Senate Estimates Committee, but didn't think she was drunk. Though I know in my own experience, I'm pretty lightweight these days when it comes to alcohol, and so 2 drinks is all it takes to get a lot of people inebriated. And she must not have known how she sounded when she was asking those questions, but it's again brought up the question whether politicians should be subjected to random breath test, and that the drinking culture around Parliament House is, well, unacceptable to the average Australian. I mean, most Australians can't drink on the job. They'd be disciplined if, say, they appeared in a Zoom meeting, important Zoom meeting, and were slurring their words and carrying on in that bizarro philosophical metaphysical way there. Teal Independent Zali Steggall has proposed this, though Anthony Albanese said he's not in favour of it. We know that he likes a beer, 1 or 2 or 3. I mean, how many photo ops has Albo been Albeer? I mean, he spent 3 days at the Australian Open tennis drinking beer. And there's also proposed not just alcohol breath test them, the drug test them. And I think there'd be a lot of nervous people in the Canberra bubble if that was implemented. I mean, when they tested the toilets in the UK Parliament, Westminster, they found high levels of cocaine. I mean, clearly, drug abuse by politicians and their staff has continued long after Saint Derek Draper departed the political arena. So yes, politicians, of course, they don't want their dirty habits and secrets exposed. The Joint Protection racket always comes into, because if one side's secrets exposed, then they're all their secrets exposed. I mean, I've already covered previously all the sex, particularly homosexual sex, that goes on in Parliament House, and well, it's, you know, basically sex, drug, and alcohol alcohol party house some of the time there on the taxpayer expense, of course. I only just wish that the politicians who like a drink would cut the tax for the rest of us. I mean, we're paying for your alcohol. Why should we have to pay you like us more when we buy a cask of red wine or whatever? Now, there is a new health crisis in New South Wales. I'm not sure if you've been alerted to this. This is the asbestos mulch crisis. So, at current count, there are 34 positive cases of a mulch that has asbestos in it, including several schools. This was discovered by chance at the Cursed Rozelle interchange, that new freeway juncture in Sydney, which has actually made traffic worse. So the trigger for this environmental protection authorities testing and now task force was that a boy took home some mulch from their playground there, and the parent discovered asbestos in it. There's two different type of asbestos. There's bonded asbestos, which is less harmful, and then there's the fiberized asbestos, which is more dangerous. Now, obviously, the chances of people exposed to this asbestos mulch getting emphysema and dying later in life are much slimmer compared to, well, those who worked for James Hardie and those other building companies who were working with asbestos every day and were inhaling it. Now, the company whose mulch is responsible for this is called Green Life. And if I go to the article here now, a lot of us are wondering how could this have happened, and this is because the Green Life facility where they are packaging this mulch, it is a waste facility in Bringley, and clearly there has been some contamination due to, well, obviously some lax procedures there. The previous company that owned it, high quality waste management, wasn't high quality. They got 4 EPA breach cleanup notices. Green Life has said that had nothing to do with us, but clearly they have operation for it now, and this mulch has gone out. And a lot of people in New South Wales, they're getting PTSD from the daily press conferences, because it reminds them of the COVID positive cases, because you even had Dr. Jeremy McAnulty from New South Wales Health talking about the health effects of asbestos exposure, and he was Kerry Chance fill in on those daily press conferences. In fact, it's broken tonight. The contaminated asbestos mulches has gone into the ACT. There was some worry that the mulch could lead to the cancellation of the Taylor Swift concert at Accor Stadium, but the tests have come back negative. So there is a big sigh of relief, but it's schools have had to be shut and students relocated. So it involves the Environment Department, Education Department, and Health Department. So this is it's the Environmental Protection Authority's biggest investigation in many decades, because, well, asbestos is a biohazard. A lot of people know people who died from emphysema because of asbestos exposure. So there is a zero risk tolerance to asbestos being in anywhere where the public can access it. I mean, we have the supposedly we hear about asbestos safe disposal. So in this case, the asbestos that's been disposed has made it its way into the mulch and been returned into the community of where it was taken. So yes, we shall see how this transpires, whether it's breached Victoria's border. Now, it has led to the asbestos mulch led to the cancellation of the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras Fair Day, and I noticed a lot of my followers on X and Telegram say, "Oh no, how terrible!" What was the other thing they said? God works in mysterious ways. I mean, Sydney Siders had to put up with that World Pride tripe last year, and so they can put up with a bit less of it this year around, which I think which will be refreshing. Now, on Sunday, there was a Never Again Is Now rally. So it was a whole bunch of Christians got together in, I think it was Hyde Park, including former Prime Minister Scott Morrison, to rally against the spread of anti-Semitism since the October 7 Hamas attack on southern Israel. I think it was John Lawson of the National Observer posted on X saying, are these people going to also rally against the persecution of white people and Christians? I was thinking to myself, is they're going to hold a rally in solidarity with the Armenian Christians who, well, they're under constant threat of being genocided by their Azerbaijan neighbors. I mean, we should also be saying Never Again Is Now for the Armenians. Of course, they were genocided during World War I by the Ottoman Turks. Their Islamic enemies have tried to exterminate them numerous times. It's still ongoing, and they actually have a quarter in there, the Old Jerusalem there, and they have been collateral in the Israeli operations against the Palestinians in the Old Jerusalem there. So all these other persecutions, pogroms, genocidal plans, sadly, they're pervading the world. Now, also, we had over the weekend, I'm not sure which city that was in, a National Socialist Network member, Nathan Bull, have a selfie with United Australia Party Senator Ralph Babet. And when he took the photo, did a look which looked like a mini salute, which obviously Ralph Babet was not aware of, and politicians don't know the political philosophy of every Australian who asks them for a selfie. So Ralph Babet, he has responded by calling saying the far right are losers like the far left. And I wonder if Nathan Bull will be charged. I'm not sure, because the National Socialist Network, the Black Bloc, they were spotted in Brisbane before the rally for Vilene White started on Saturday at midday. So I'm not sure if Nathan Bull was in Brisbane or Melbourne, but of course we have the national Nazi salute ban, and so the law says anything that resembles a Nazi salute. And well, I mean, given Nathan Bull has done the salute repeatedly in the past, I don't think he could argue that wasn't an attempt to make a Nazi salute. So Wolfish Naturalist says Nathan Bull is one struggle with Mamsa Babette. What kind of mystery meat is Babette? Anyhow, his ethnicity is Mauritian. I think he was born there actually, but it's obviously a sole Australian citizen. United Australia Party senator for Victoria. I think he does good work in the Senate. I mean, he is way better than what the alternative Liberal senator would have been, Greg Mirabella. Now, we have Julian Assange. His appeal to the UK High Court of Justice will be heard over the next 2 days. It's his final appeal against extradition to the United States to face espionage charges. I've said, how can you be charged with espionage against the United States when you're not a citizen of the United States? She's an Australian, and now the Parliament passed a motion calling for both the UK and US authorities to send Julian Assange back home. When Anthony Albanese was opposition leader, he said, enough is enough. It's time to bring Julian Assange back home. There was a cross-parliamentary delegation to the United States last year. Monique Ryan, Barnaby Joyce, two Greens senators, Alex Antic of the Liberals met with Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the ultra MAGA US Congress women, to lobby for Assange's release. And so I was very it was the photo of last year, all of these politicians in this coalition together, but just shows how important this is. I mean, Julian Assange is basically being subject to psychological torture in the UK prison. Thought criminals, wrong thinkers. It's easy to get locked up in the UK for anything. They remember at the beginning they tried that Swedish rape charge for having sex without a condom, stealthing, and so they've been holding him for a number of years now. The US deep state, they want his blood. I mean, he humiliated them. The fact that Chelsea Manning was able to put all of the US government secrets on the Lady Gaga CD and give it to Julian Assange, highly embarrassed them. I mean, they wanted him assassinated. So did Mike Pompeo when he was in the CIA. They want revenge for him humiliating them. Now, we will briefly stop up in Russia, where the global Western media has talked about the death of Putin opposition figure Alexei Navalny in a Siberian prison. So he had been a Putin critic for over a decade, had survived a couple of poisoning attempts. And so his death has been attributed to sudden death syndrome. I saw that Aussie Cossack claimed that it was the jabs that did it. Now, Putin is going to win the presidential election next month. Now, Tucker Carlson, obviously, he's been accused for many years of being a Russian agent, Putin's stooge, which the climax of those accusations was when he interviewed Vladimir Putin in the Kremlin. Now, obviously, it was on Putin's turf, so Tucker couldn't have a proper debate, and Putin wanted to obviously spends the first half hour talking about the history of Russian-Ukraine relations, and when Tucker tried to interrupt, said, "Oh, I thought we're having a discussion, not a show." And so Tucker has been under fire for his vlog at a Russian supermarket, because he said that it costed under 100, just over 100 US a month a weekly shop when it's $400 a month for his weekly shop. Although the community notes pointed out that Russia, it's a much poorer country and they spend more of their income on food than people in the United States. And he seemed fascinated by the trolleys with the coins in it, saying it saves the homeless people stealing them. And people are saying to Tucker, haven't you been grocery shopping lately? I mean, they have them in the United States as well. In Australia, it depends on the local council's regulations whether the supermarket you shop at has you need to put the trolley money in or not. So, and also Tucker was asked about Putin killing his critic, and he said, "Well, this is nothing new, and that even democratically elected leaders kill people as well." You remember Trump said that as well when Bill O'Reilly said Putin's a killer, and says a lot of killers in the world. You think we're so innocent? I saw Douglas Murray criticize Snowden, saying, "Oh, you're hiding in Russia. What do you have to say?" And this is the typical neocon argument. Oh, you're either with us or against us. What about what's going on in the undemocratic, unfree East? And Andy Nolte falls into this. I mean, he believes that in the basically in that the West is evil and the East is good. The thing is, like most of us here believe in traditional Western values. We want our nations to do better. We want our nations to be the free and prosperous societies they once were. And obviously, most of us don't believe that Russia, China, Iran, Afghanistan is a good place to live. It's not. I mean, I'm a non-interventionist. If Afghanistan and Iran, if they want to have the Islamic governments, I don't understand why they want the Afghani people want the Taliban, or why the Iranians want the Ayatollahs, but that's what they want. But obviously, I don't want them coming en masse to my country because, well, a lot of them bring those values over to our countries, which are incompatible with ours. I see that Iron Duke is in the chat. Great to see you. Iron Duke told us that he had to cancel one of his Sunday morning streams a couple of weeks back because he had a heart attack, which obviously we're glad that he's recovered from, and so it's great to see him back. So Iron Duke says, I think you could argue that Russia has more freedom of speech than Britain has today. Well, a lot of those who were laying flowers for the opposition leader, Navin Lee, have been arrested, detained. I mean, like, at least there is an illusion of free speech and free debate in the UK still. I mean, you have the the sort of the alleged dissidents over at GB News and Talk TV. I mean, there's not even the illusion of a dissident media in Russia. Now we will stop over in the UK now, and now, despite mass migration saving Australia in the short term from being in recession, I mean, we're in a per capita recession, but we're all getting poorer per capita. Mass migration is just keeping the GDP just above negative. Now, of course, the UK has been invaded for years across the English Channel, but because these illegals, they're basically just elite, Sean. The UK and its resources, they haven't been able to save the UK from a recession. And so the UK recorded 2 quarters of negative growth, which is the definition of a recession. So the mass migration couldn't save them, but Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Chancellor Jeremy Hunt, a lot of people will say that that was deliberate, my mispronunciation of Jeremy Hunt's name. They've said, trust the plan, man. Yeah, we've heard all that before. And Rishi Sunak, as I said, the UK voters, they're out. They're waiting for the UK general election at the end of the year to throw him and the Conservative government out. They're waiting with baseball bats. There's this vandalism that continues to appear at various British locations. Rishi Sunak is a rat-faced cunt. Of course, I could never, ever endorse this pure vandalism. Now, the Conservatives, they had another horror twin by-election results, which were held last Thursday. So the Kingswood by-election that was triggered by the resignation of Chris Skidmore, who resigned over a dispute over the granting of new oil and gas licenses. So the Labor Party candidate Damien Egan won. So he was actually born in Ireland and raised a Catholic, but converted to Judaism when he married his husband. And I recall back in Australia, the member for Wentworth briefly in 2018-19, Dr. Karen Phelps, she converted to Judaism when she married her wife. So it's not just it's just not an ethnicity. Conversion to Judaism can be achieved, even through same-sex marriages. So there you go there. And the Wellingborough by-election, that was triggered by the resignation of the Tory party member Peter Bone after he showed his boner to a staff member in Madrid, and his current wife ran as the candidate. Now, this graph doesn't show it, but Labor hardly got any more votes. Turnout was really low at 37%. So a lot of the Conservative voters stayed at home or voted for the Reform Party candidates. And of course, the Tory stooges on Talk TV and GB News said, oh, you're responsible for the Conservative Party losses. You're going to be responsible for Conservative losses at the general election. And to their credit, the Reform Party is unrepentant, saying that we want to destroy the Conservative Party. You need to punish failure. And obviously, that's what the people of the UK are wanting to do. They're not embracing Sir Keir Starmer and Labor. They are voting against Rishi Sunak and the Conservative government that have failed them for 14 years. And so Sir Keir Starmer, he's going to win in a landslide because the Conservatives are just utterly terrible. Though there is another by-election on the 29th of February. So that is the Labor House seat of Rochdale, which is a town where the grooming gangs run rampant a decade ago, and the authorities were scared to do anything for fear of being called racist. So it was triggered by the death of the Labor MP, Sir Tony Lloyd. Though the Labor Party have disendorsed their candidate, Azhar Ali, because he was caught on tape suggesting that Israel allowed the October 7 attacks to go ahead in order to greenlight action on Gaza, which I would say is not a far-fetched conspiracy theory, but Sir Keir Starmer and the current Labour leadership, they are constantly wanting to banish the ghost of Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour's anti-Semitism problem, so they've disendorsed him. The Reform Party, they have selected the ex-Labour candidate, Simon Dansnuk, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's I think it's a Polish name because it's spelt the same way as Palaszczuk or Palachuk is pronounced. And Anne-Marie Waters alerted me to the fact that when he was a Labour MP, he supported the authorities going after Katie Hopkins for her tweet after the Manchester Arena bombing, which she deleted, that said we need a final solution. She clarified that she wanted to say a lasting solution, but because she said final solution, that was when she got cancelled completely from all the mainstream media. Also, the Jewish Board of Deputies went after her as well. So the Reform Party, supposedly the party of free speech, have selected him. And he was disendorsed as a Labour Party MP after it had emerged in 2015. He had exchanged explicit messages with a 17-year-old girl. So high quality reform party candidate there. But the dark horse of the Rochdale by-election, who the money is on, George Galloway to become an MP again, this time under the banner of the Workers' Party of Britain. So George Galloway was first elected in the late 80s as a Labour Party MP, and he was one of the MPs who helped bring about the downfall of Robert Maxwell, that absolute scumbag who stole from his workers, their pension fund at the Daily Mirror, and had his foreign editor gun running over in the Middle East. And of course, his daughter Ghislaine Maxwell was Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking madame. So that's what got George Galloway on the map, and he performed one of the best public services in British history. Of course, Robert Maxwell was a double agent for both Britain and Mossad. Now, George Galloway, he's a socialist, but he's one of these the old school socialists who I respect for his principled stances, and I know a lot of people in the chat will agree with me. George Galloway, he has been pilloried for his foreign policy positions. I mean, back in the old Twitter management labeled him Russian affiliated media because at the time he had a show on RT. He's also worked for Talk Radio, which was the predecessor for Talk TV. And he was also recently on GB News on Neil Oliver's program, which again, we're all surprised that Neil Oliver's still allowed on GB News, given how much of a dissident he is. Don Browning says, didn't Maxwell bloke get chucked off a boat or something? Yes, it was he was either drunk or a suicide, but the hypothesis is that Mossad they dispatched of him because he was becoming too much of a liability off his Lady Ghislaine yacht in the Caribbean. All the ship workers that night disappeared. And what is that? They found his body. He was floating naked in the water, which Robert Maxwell was a fat, ugly fucker. I mean, imagine catching that land whale there. Dawn Browning says, I'm conditioned to not like Galloway for a good decade now. Well, as I said, he's a socialist. I'm the most anti-socialist you can be. But there are still principled socialists around who I respect and albeit not agree with, and Galloway is one of them. Now, Rishi Sunak in one of Piers Morgan's last shows on Talk TV, he I remember I covered last week. He denies that he's been fired. He's going to YouTube only because that's where his audio is. But I noticed just skimming through his YouTube shows this week, all the Talk TV branding has been removed. He had a bet with Rishi Sunak, £1,000 for charity that flights to Rwanda of illegals would happen before the end of the year. I said that Rishi Sunak he should just write the check now because it's not going to happen. And this invasion has happened while he has been a Tory MP and also Chancellor. I mean, the Conservatives, they've promised fiscal responsibility, small government, a controlled borders. I mean, this is the national debt. I mean, it was growing under Gordon Brown, and then under the various Conservative chancellors, George Osborne, Philip Hammond, Sajid Javid, Rishi Sunak, it's just gotten more and more. And because the hotels are now all full of illegals, all of the ones that the UK government reserved. Remember, people had their weddings cancelled because the UK Conservative government had taken over those hotels as part of like an existing agreement to house illegals there. So the hotels are full now. So now they're going after old people's homes. So an elderly British couple got this letter from the Northamptonshire Council. I didn't know. I thought Northampton. Why is that? It's Northampton. Like there's two norths there, but I digress there. So this is the Empty Properties and Sites Initiatives. We are writing to you as we have reason to believe that the above named premises or land is empty and unused and that you are the owner. We would like to take the opportunity to find out what your intentions are for the premises. It may be that you already have proposals, but if not, we can give you some advice on options and availability to bring the premises site back into use. The government has identified empty privately owned properties as potential cause of blight within communities and as a wasted resource at time of high housing need. It is setting targets for local authorities and is requiring action by them to reduce this problem. As part of the process, Northamptonshire Council is identifying empty properties and sites within the areas with the aim of encouraging owners to bring premises back into use or to find alternative options for derelict sites. The resettlement team at North Hampshire Council supports asylum seekers and refugees across 3 different projects: Homes for Refugees, Afghan Resettlement, and Asylum Diaspora. At present, we are seeking considerable increase in positive immigration decisions being made in favour of asylum seekers, mainly single men. Once they are granted refugee status, they're given 28 days to leave the Home Office, provide accommodation, and to apply for benefits, find work, and source move-on accommodation. Due to limited time frame and increasing private rents, the council is struggling to source suitable accommodation for this cohort. The ideal long-term solution would be provide accommodation by using empty properties, which would benefit owners of the project. There are other ways in which this may able to, which we might be able to advise and work with the owners to bring the properties into use by informal means. However, there are a range of measures available to the council requiring owners of empty properties to carry out repairs to prevent them causing a nuisance to neighbouring premises or taking action to bring them back in the use. I would say that housing illegal single men would cause a nuisance to a neighborhood and could lead to, well, a property becoming in condition to be derelict. And this was given to an elderly British couple who living in the house, and they'd recently moved there because they wanted to be close to their granddaughter. And so they consulted a lawyer who said this is basically just the council. They're sending these out, basically seeing if anyone's intimidated enough to fold. The council said it was sent in error. Yeah, right. And so but this is the latest tactic, trying to bully native Brits out of their homes, claiming that they're derelict and that, saying, "Oh, your house looks shoddy. We'll have to appropriate it." It's absolutely disgusting. Brucey says, "Imagine if they did this for struggling white working class to find housing." And paleoconservative Australian said, "I saw a mass demonstration against Muslims in Japan, and they only have a tiny percentage of the population." Yes, the mass migration, the advocates are now targeting Japan and South Korea because they have catastrophically low birth rates, and so to take care of all your old people and to bump up the tax revenue, have mass migration as well. And remember that the recent Miss Japan was Ukrainian. She had to give back her crown because she had an affair with a married man there. But yes, even nations who have had policies of, wanting to have a homogenous nation like Japan and South Korea, they're the latest targets now of the diversity crowd. So does that mean they've reached the white white people status now? I mean, obviously in the United States, Asians, including Japanese and Koreans, were victims of university affirmative action policies because Asians do well on academic achievement, and so they didn't want too many Asians at their university in proportion to the population, so they discriminated against them. But thankfully, it was knocked out by the US Supreme Court. The US Supreme Court is currently hearing from the various states that are trying to knock Trump off the ballot, Maine and Colorado. The justices basically giving an indication that they're not going to allow Trump to be knocked off the ballot. That is, of course, is just one of the many strategies that the Democrats are using to try and sabotage Trump's return to the White House. I mean, barring a black swan event, I mentioned, was that the latest Alaska pox. There's the first death of Alaska pox in an immunocompromised patient in Alaska. It was a pox virus that was first discovered in 2015. So they thought it was one of the other poxes, but everyone who's got it since 2015 has recovered. There's no evidence that it transmits from humans to humans, from small animals. Maybe it's the thing up there in Alaska that's causing the Alaska pox. But currently, the strategy. So we had one of Trump's. We've had two of the New York farce trials against Trump conclude. There's obviously the E. Jean Carroll defamation payout. So he was found liable for sexually assaulting her in the 90s in a luxury retailer there on flimsy evidence. And then he was found guilty of defaming her by denying he'd ever met her and that she's not his type. and also mentioned all of the. She told Anderson Cooper once that rape is sexy, and as Trump said, her cat was named Vagina. Recently, we had conclude the case brought against him by New York Attorney General Letitia James, who argued that Trump inflated his assets, including Mar-a-Lago, to get bank loans, even though the loans were repaid. And they're saying he's the only businessman who's made his assets look good on paper. And so the judge, Arthur Engoron, he fined Trump $354 million and barred him from running a business in New York for 3 years. And of course, he loved the attention that he got, because he's basically a no-name Manhattan judge until this happened. This was him smirking for the court cameras,
where they will be thrilled. And that's the problem, is that, you have James now being shown in the background, you've got Trump in the foreground, and it fulfills the narrative on both sides. Trump is likely right. I mean, he's being shown.
Now, next month, Trump has got his trial for the alleged hush money paid to Stormy Daniels, that porn star. So he's been charged with Manhattan DA, Fat Alvin Bragg, of repeatedly falsifying business record. Most legal analysts, even of the left-wing network, say that this is a ridiculous charge. Now, the charge which I thought they had the best chance of getting Trump on was the Fulton County, Georgia, RICO conspiracy charge for election interference brought by the Fulton County DA Fannie Willis. And now they managed to get that Jenna Ellis to plead guilty and read that apology after she'd taken all of those legal donations from MAGA. But Fannie Willis, it seems that her 15 minutes of fame has, it's backfired on her, because she has faced a misconduct hearing last week because she chose as the special prosecutor her lover. His name is where have I got it? Nathan Wade, and so she perjured herself on the stand by saying that she never went to the White House, but she did, to collude with the January 6th committee. And now she did admit on the stand that she took campaign cash from her district attorney campaign and keeping it in her house, which is a campaign finance violation, which others have gone to jail for. Now, these watching this misconduct hearing was extraordinary, and of course she played the black card as well, and so did her father and Nathan Wade. But this is her admitting that she basically embezzled campaign funds.
Whole life, when I took out a large amount of money on my first campaign, I kept some of the cash of that. Like, to tell you I just have cash in my house, I don't have as much today.
And her defense was, this is what black people do. Well, there's no law that says that black people can keep campaign cash in their home and not file FEC disclosures. So, I mean, if there's any justice still left in the United States, she should go to jail. I mean, campaign finance violations are very serious. They're jailable offenses. Dinesh D'Souza was sent to jail for alleged campaign finance violations. Obviously, he was a big target because he's a conservative filmmaker, but the precedent has been set. I mean, she should lock her up, I say, Fannie Willis. It'd be funny if her lover was called Dick. Get it? Dick and Fanny in a Blyton's book. So the farce, these farces are on display for the American people, and Trump's poll numbers shot up as each indictment was slapped on him, and he's unassailable now. I mean, Nikki Haley is he's staying in the race, but she's got no hope there. I mean, it's not even, we don't hear any stories about the primaries now, because Trump is already the presumptive nominee, and also Biden is the presumptive Democratic nominee. And yes, Dawn Browning pointed out the dress looked like she had it on back to front. I don't know whether that's a black fashion thing as well. Dion G said that as well. But yes, well, you wanted to be a celebrity, Fannie Willis, and well, now you are a celebrity. So yeah, and enjoy the limelight there. And now, Biden, of course, last week he had his disastrous press conference lashing out at the special prosecutor who decided not to charge him for keeping classified documents because he was a forgetful old man. And then he got the president of Egypt, El Sisi, mixed up, caught in the president of Mexico. And Biden, he had the basement strategy in 2020, but in 2024, I mean, he has no choice but to but to campaign with actual people. And I mean, whenever there's a underage girl in an audience, Biden wanders over and goes for a sniff. Though Biden this week, I mean, remember he said in 2020, if you have trouble deciding whether if you're me, if you're Trump, you ain't black. Well, he had decided to sit down with a black family and have some fried chicken. And my favorite deep fake AI account, DeFranzor Memes, only had to tweak this video a bit to just show it as well. Biden pandering to stereotypical black food tastes. So this is what he came up with.
So I made sure you guys got your chicken, your orange soda, or Kool-Aid, if that's what you're into. Oh, I'm really sorry that Jill forgot the watermelon and hot sauce. Listen, I absolutely love the blacks, especially when you people vote for me and not Trump.
How come when he does it, it's not racist? Remember Hillary Clinton when she went into an interview with a black station back in 2017. She coincidentally had hot sauce put in her purse, and she brought it out. See, I have it there. Obviously, that was prearranged. She doesn't have it with her all the time. But I remember, what is it, KFC in Australia, they pulled one of their ads after it was accused of being racist because it had an Australian cricket fan placate some loud West Indies fans around him with some KFC chicken, which obviously KFC is a sponsor of Cricket Australia. They convinced fans to wear KFC buckets on their head. So it was obviously I mean, we just played the West Indies, the Australian cricket team. So that was the context. KFC is a sponsor of cricket. But yes, that was racist. But Biden eating fried chicken with a black family, that's apparently not racist. Bruce Kivett says this is surreal psychological horror. Remember Biden, one of his guests in 2020, what is that, poor kids can do just as good as white kids. Yeah, Brucey says, lol, this fried chicken made me feel like I was on acid. I mean, it's going to get a lot more wild towards the end of the year. remember, Biden wants to appear at a Taylor Swift concert to be anointed with her endorsement. And Biden, he's finally visiting Palestine, not Palestine over in the Middle East, but Palestine, Ohio. Well, namely East Palestine, with the train derailment and the fact that he's a year late. He's not being well received by the locals there. I wonder if you'll get confused which Palestine he's in. Yes, I was just passed by the Gaza Strip here on my way to East Palestine, which you would probably East Palestine is obviously in the Middle East, the West Bank. You can just see it happening there. What is it? Iron says Taylor Swift is much too old for Biden to sniff. Oh, don't put it past him. And what is it? Brucey says Taylor Swift smells like sulfur. Alex Jones told me. I'm not sure there. Maybe that New Zealander got her hat. That TikToker Oliver Mills can tell us. But we'll be doing a Swift update on the theorists tomorrow night with Andy Nolch. So that is 9 p.m. at Melbourne time on the theorists YouTube channel, and I will put the link into the theorist YouTube channel into the live chat. And also tomorrow night I'll be taste testing these new gay Oreos that I've seen for sale. So we shall see if they contain MSG, microplastics, and astrazine that can turn frogs gay. So we'll have a live experiment. I will eat some of those Oreos and I'll see what happens to me. But yes, it's because you've got to have a Southern Hemisphere Pride Month in our summer, as well as a Northern Hemisphere one. Up in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, it's Black History Month. I don't know, maybe that's why Biden was eating the KFC there. But that's for the theorists tomorrow night. I'll also be publishing my video highlights from my coverage of the Worldwide Freedom Rally in Melbourne, which was outside Victoria Police HQ, a rally against government and police corruption. So Nick Patterson, 3 years on after Nick Patterson defended his friend against a Victoria Police assault. He was charged with assaulting police after they broke his shoulder. The prosecution of him is still going. And we also heard from those who were injured by the rubber bullets that Victoria Police fired on them. So I'll bring that to you. Obviously, I've had a busy few days. Had a Wilmsfront episode with Melinda Richards last night. So make sure you go and see that on the Wilmsfront channels. So just click on the Wilmsfront channel and you'll see it there. Make sure you always give like, comment, thumbs up. And this Sunday, I will have another Wilmsfront. I will be having Frank Salter of the British Australian community. I've known Frank for a number of years, but we've never spoken on a show together. And so I'm looking forward to that. And also there'll be more reports from Tiger Mountain coming with Richard Wollstonecroft, who of course is a regular now on the Sam Newman You Cannot Be Serious podcast. And remember, our Unshackled Productions archive is over at Substack, the unshackled.substack.com, and which you can also take out a paid subscription, which is $5 per month or $50 per year, or a founding member for $500 per year. And also you can support the Unshackled still at the unshackled.net/membership. I also still am publishing on the unshackled.net our occasional articles. Obviously, because it's just me running the Unshackled at the moment, I'm tending to just focus on these shows. Though there are other good alternate media blogs starting in Australia, such as Noticer.news and also the National Observer on Substack, run by Josh Lawson. So on the unshackled.net, that is where I repost my reality check radio Wilms reports segments from Paul Brennan's breakfast program. So reality check radio is one of the common sense independent media over in New Zealand. Due de Boer, he has began a new show over on Reality Check Radio, my former Trad Tasman Talk co-host. So that is called The Dialogue with Due de Boer. His first guest was William McGimpsey, who has decided to out himself as the Zeitgeist NZ on New Zealand Twitter. He's excellent as well. So New Zealand is certainly, it's going better than Australia currently. Iron Duke says, I liked Richard Wollstonecraft's Not Enough Jewish People in Hollywood. Yes, because they didn't get they had to get Bradley Cooper to play that Jewish person in that biopic. I can't remember his name. So they had him with a big Jewish nose. And I remember Bill Maher made a new rule joke that because he's half Jewish, that said, yes, this is a real issue. He says sarcastically, not enough Jews in Hollywood. So thank you everyone once again for joining me. I will see you tomorrow night for The Theorist, 9 p.m. Melbourne time on The Theorist channel. So stay safe, stay free. And although it's been very blackpilling the show for the last couple of weeks, I mean, we need to confront all of this bad news head on, because how are we ever going to win this information war if we don't confront the cold hard facts head on and call out psyops and distractions where we see it. Good night, everybody.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.